Hey, Alan, during this off season, all this virtual work, I know players, particularly receivers, they like to do the teaching and learning and corrections on the field. So could you talk about, you know, Alvin not coming back? You got a new coach with Jason, some of these pre-tape meetings, and what this process has been like leading up to today.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole virtual off season was tough and unique for a lot of people. Obviously, just a whole new world that we were kind of getting into. So, just kind of going into it with an open mind and trying to get as much um, use and taking up as much good enough time during those meetings of making progress and still being able to make the strides that we needed to make through the off season. But I would say at first, the virtual meetings were a little bit tough, but kind of just getting back into the gist of things and just hearing the verbiage and stuff and listening to those very, very good install tapes that we had from our coaches helped kind of just still be able to make that progress, even though we weren't here in person.
Wes from Packers.com.
Hey, Alan. I hope everything's going well, man. I just want to ask you about, last year, the mentality trying to, get a job and make this roster compared to this year where I know this offense is kind of looking at you to be a contributor. Does it change at all as far as how you look at this thing, or how do you approach this now going into your second year here?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm going to approach it the same way. Just kind of looking at my journey through this NFL and everything. That's just kind of where I was able to make my biggest strides, is when I was kind of backed up against the wall and didn't really know where my positioning was or if I was going to have a job. So I want to keep that same mentality, same mindset going into the year 3 now, coming back here for year 2 and everything, just to make sure I don't get too caught up with everything just from the success that I had last year and be able to keep on making strides.
Dennis Krause.
Did you take it as a big vote of confidence when the Packers did not select a wide receiver in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, the whole draft thing, to me, I was going to come back and, I've always just kind of been focused on me, you versus you mentality. And so it's always about self-progressing and not being stagnant. So whether they took a receiver or signed another receiver, whatever it was, I knew that I still had to come back and earn my spot, earn my starting job, and to earn my playing time. So, yes, I guess to answer your question, yes, it was a little bit of a vote of confidence, knowing that they understand that what we have in this room. It's not just me. It's not just Avante. We have Jake. Getting EQ back is huge. Marquez is still a huge asset to our room. And we still have a lot of other young guys that can come in and really, really help our team.
Ryan Wood.
Hey, Alan, hope you're well. In terms of progressing, you had some success to build on last year. I know it was a restrictive offseason, kind of a weird offseason, but what was the process like for you to figure out where to go from there? What's the next step that you wanted to take and to actually build off of that specifically going into this fall?
I think the biggest thing for me is, my mental game. I think that's where I kind of stand out, especially because I'm not the fastest guy. I'm not the quick twitch guy necessarily, but I think from a mental and physical standpoint, that's kind of where I have my edge. So, still honing in on those, my weaknesses and whatnot, but also be able to take my strengths and then elevate them to another level as well.
Bill Huber.
Hey, Alan, thanks for the time. Where did the connection come from with Rodgers? Whether it was him getting you off the bench in week 6 or becoming that key third down guy down the stretch, because he was really a guy you were really a guy that he looked toward.
Yeah, I think that charisma, that connection that we had throughout the season, especially towards the later half of the season going into the playoffs, was just from one, just working hard every single day in practice. And I think that he saw that. And then that he knew that I cared, and I think that was the biggest thing that it is with Aaron, is that he needs to know that you care and that he can trust you. And I think I did all the right things to show him that. And, I think that's a big reason why we had success together.
Jason Wilde.
Hey, Alan, thanks for doing this. You mentioned Aaron. I'm wondering how much it meant to you in training camp last year to know he was in your corner, and if that helped you when things didn't go the way you wanted them to at the final cut down, and then even the first few weeks when they did bring you onto the roster.
Yeah, so Aaron had actually kind of been in my ear going back to like April, May when we were doing our off-season training. He kind of was always, just giving me a few tips here and there, always kind of encouraging me, said he really, really appreciated and liked my game a lot. So just hearing that, given that time period and everything was huge for a boost of confidence and just a confirmation from your peers, especially someone of his status. So as the year went on and kind of just developing that relationship and, just constantly getting that nod and that sign of, good progression from him, only just instilled more and more confidence in myself.
MK Burgess with WFRV.
Hey, Alan, how are you?
I'm good.
So looking ahead to this season, what has been the weirdest thing to adjust to as you guys are through that first week of camp with these new protocols?
I think the weirdest thing would probably have to be the mask. I think that was kind of a big thing that we're all kind of getting used to, is just because of one, playing football. You're out there, you're exchanging sweat, blood, and tears constantly, and then you got to come back in the building and to be able to remember to kind of stay away from each other and, be able to still follow the right protocols for whatever it is for the building.
Tom Silverstein.
Hi, Alan. Nice to see you again. I was wondering, as someone who had to use every minute of training camp, take advantage of every single opportunity that you had last year, what you thought the odds are on, what if you were coming into that camp this way with 3 weeks of practice? How tough is that, do you think, for guys coming in?
Extremely. I think this year's class, especially for the undrafted guys, they get screwed over more than anyone else. Just be able to have the fluidity of the language that we're talking when it comes to offense, defense, and then just be out there physically, having that different change of speed, coming from the college to pro level. And then just kind of get out there and getting those reps, we're very fortunate, I feel like we're taking a very moderate pace to, how we're installing everything and going through it methodically, so to speak. It hasn't been too taxing as far as the installs, at least I feel like it hasn't been for at least the young guys. But for those guys, the opportunities are going to be even more limited, which, they already were to begin with. But, obviously starting this late and everything, kind of getting ready for the season, those opportunities, come far and few in between. So it's going to be hard. But, I think with this new kind of setup the coaches have and how we're going to do our preseason camp, whatever, I think there'll still be a lot of great opportunities to be able to find some, undrafted guys and guys kind of lower on the roster to come make a name for themselves.
Mike Spofford.
Yeah, hey, Alan. Just wondering, we saw obviously your big touchdowns against the Lions last year, but I'm wondering if there's a moment, more behind the scenes or not on the highlight reels, something that happened in practice or in a game last year that you felt was really important that helped you get to where you are right now.
I would say my most proudest moment of being in the league right now would be when I first got here to Green Bay my rookie year. I was only here for the last 2 weeks of the season, but when I first came here, I made a priority for myself to leave a good impression, not only on the coaches and front office people, but my teammates as well. So when I came back in April, that, I just want to be a new face. I want to be a stranger. I wanted to come back and be able to contribute to the team going towards that Super Bowl goal that next fall. So for me, it was really putting myself in the position, working hard in those practices, but also studying, staying up late nights, trying to go through an entire playbook that I had no idea what any of the verbiage was. Was very fortunate to have Coach Wright here to help me stay late with me, study up on the playbook. And even though I only got one play that last game of the season versus the Lions back in 2018, I believe, that was a hugest accomplishment, especially at that given moment. It was my first play. I was able to get a catch. I was kind of here. My family was here. So it was a huge milestone for me individually. And, I definitely won't ever forget that moment.
Aaron Nagler.
Bill mentioned a little while ago you're really contributing on third downs as the season progressed. Specifically that Minnesota game, you had a bunch of really key conversions. Is that something you look you're hoping to expand when it comes to, I mean, obviously defenses are going to be keying on Devontae. Is like being the third down security blanket something you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I look toward to be the any down security blanket. I had a lot of success on third downs in college, and kind of being in tough situations like that where we need a play to keep the drive going, to go score, to switch momentum or whatever it is. So it was something I've been very comfortable with, something I've been very used to doing. So going out there and doing that last year was not necessarily anything new. It was just, my teammates and the stage was different.
Mark Daniels.
Hi, Alan. Good to see you again. You talked about how you really like the room coming back, yet the entire off-season conversation seemed to be finding ways to get Aaron another weapon. How did you guys in that room react to that nonstop talk about adding some more players on the perimeter?
I mean, honestly, we just kind of laugh at it just because it kind of shows the little acknowledgement of, what value we actually bring to the room and to the team. Because we know that our job is very complicated. It's very hard, and not too many people can do it. So to hear all the talk about, if they went and got this guy, they would just fit in. And then I don't think they realize how difficult it is to do our position, offensive, blocking and the pass game as well. So we're very confident in ourselves. A lot of us are returning. We've been in this system for 2 years, if not, been here at the organization for more, playing with these players. And so I think it's more so just building this charisma and understanding and trusting each other out there on Sundays.
Jim Ozarski.
Hey, Alan. Good to see you. With no preseason games in this compressed schedule, can you talk a little bit about your cornerbacks? I mean, those are the guys who are going to have to give you some real work and some real looks, even more than just that one-on-one stuff. So I don't know if you want to highlight guys or maybe just speak to in general what those guys are going to have to do for you as wideouts and maybe how good they are at their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're only getting better as a receiver group if, we have good competition on the other side of the ball. So we're very fortunate to have those guys there. Just to name off the top right now, Jair and Kevin, kind of holding it down. You have those two different styles of corners. Jaws a little bit more smaller, quicker, way more technique sound. And then you have Kevin, who's a lot longer, way stronger, and a little bit more firm. So you're able to get those different matchups and to kind of have that different repetition during practice. So when we get that on Sundays, it's not too far and few in between of what we're going to be seeing in the secondary as well. I think having Darnell come back for his second year, he played amazing as a rookie, I felt like. And he was just getting his feet wet, to be honest. I think he's super intelligent, super ball hungry, and I think he's going to do a great job. Him and Amos kind of leading the back end. I can't forget my boy Chandon Sullivan too. Being another undrafted guy, I think he did an amazing job, and he kind of adds it to that whole Jair, Kevin King mix of it's a different look, and the more looks that we can get, the different varieties that we can get, it's only going to make us better.
Matt Schneidman.
Alan, anytime we ask your head coach about you, he's quick to mention your ability as a run blocker. I know you talked about it a lot last year. How does one improve as a run blocker when you're a wide receiver? And would you rather lay a block for a big run or make a big catch?
Big block for sure. I'm a giver, I would say, more so than a taker as a person. So I get more excited seeing Jamal or Aaron bust open for a 30, 40-yard run off a key block that I know if I didn't make this block, it would not have been able to be such a huge play. So I found way more satisfaction. But as far as improving, it doesn't take too much to block, and I think that's what is a common misconception as far as wide receiver goes, is that it's all about positioning, hands getting inside. But for me, it's all about knowing what the defense is trying to do, knowing what we're trying to do, and then just getting in the way. I'm very obviously fortunate to be a very large human being, especially for the wide receiver position, and that definitely helps a lot. But I think it's just all about attitude and effort.
Olivia Reiner.
Hey, Alan. You spent a good chunk of your off-season quarantine time with Manny. What did you accomplish with him getting ready for this season that you wouldn't have been able to do had you been somewhere else on your own?
Yeah, living with Manny Wilkins was a huge component, to this off season as far as being able to still be able to get routes in, get quality work, kind of have someone there as well just to push you. When you're by yourself, it is kind of easier to slack off and to not go as hard. But when you have someone as far as competition, and especially someone that's as close as he is to me, to be able to push each other both on the field and off the field as well. So we enjoyed our time down there in Arizona, and I'm excited to hopefully see him back on our roster soon and to continue doing great things as well.
Wes Hodquitz.
Hey, Alan, I know how important you felt your offseason was going into last year for what you were able to accomplish. Did you kind of look at that as sort of a rinse and repeat in terms of what you emphasized, or was there anything in your game that you sort of looked to isolate this year going into this season?
Yeah, I think the biggest, they always say the biggest improvement should be from year 1 to year 2. So after this first full season of being able to get out on the field and kind of get acclimated to the game and everything, I'm kind of looking as far as this next year of kind of be able to come back and to make even a bigger stride and to keep pushing forward. Going into this off season, when Corona and COVID hit, it was more so just kind of like a mental space of just kind of getting my mind right. And as much as it was physical, I knew physically, it doesn't take too long. It doesn't take anything crazy that you need to do to get into shape. It doesn't matter if you have a weight room or not. It just takes a will and effort at the end of the day. So I knew from a mental standpoint is where it's going to matter the most. And really, I was only playing kind of the second half of the season. So the first half, I wasn't playing as much. I was playing primarily special teams. So now I got to look at it as, I'm really going to the season to play a full 16 games offensively and special teams as well. So from that standpoint, I started taking care of my body a little bit more and making sure I was stretching, doing the right rehab, and to make sure I was able to stay up on my mobility as well.
And we have time for 2 more. Jason Wilde.
Alan, like you were just saying, I know your focus is on this season, obviously. But I asked Matt LaFleur this morning, have you thought about how close you were to not having Alan on your team when you guys cut him? And he didn't want to go anywhere near that. You're poised for a really big role in this offense. But you were there. The NFL is littered with guys that got hosed at the end of a training camp that should have made the team and didn't. And then they bounced around a bunch and never found a home, and they end up out of the league. Why are you different? Why have you managed to put yourself in the position you're in, you think?
I think when it comes to that, I don't think you're wrong by saying that there's a lot of talent that's out there that, maybe the system that they're in, the organization isn't the best for them. The position that they're playing, it's all about opportunity and timing, and you really can't control those two things. And so for me as a person, I've never really tried to sweat too much about the things that I couldn't control. I prepared every single week going up into, week 6, like a starter. I made sure I had my plays down. I didn't want to go out there and be put in a position where I was playing and the team was counting on me and I was able to let them down. So for me, it was just all about preparing and kind of always having that mindset of that I could go out there whenever my time was going to get called on and to be able to make a big play. And I think, you look at that Lions game and, everyone sees the big catch and everything, but they also forget about the play before that. I had a drop pass. So it's all about, kind of keeping that positive mindset, always believing in yourself and never shying away from the moment.
Last question, Bill Huber.
Yeah, Matt Schneidman asked you about run blocking a little while ago. This is what Matt LaFleur said this morning. Speaking of defenses, he said they better put in their mouth guard and buckle up their chin strap every time he's on the field. I know you're a big guy, but where did that mentality come from? Was that something from high school, college? When did run blocking become a focus for you?
I would say it stems from my dad, who really taught me the game of football. And, he played defense, so he was a DB. And he was a pretty aggressive DB, at least that's what he tells me and all his friends. But, going back into high school, I originally started playing safety my freshman, sophomore year. And kind of just having that mentality of just kind of always, you know, I just liked contact. I like hitting. I like making the big hits. And, you know, I knew consequently that they would lead the big plays and help our team win. So playing safety definitely kind of helped me go into taking that mindset of, you know, filling the C gap, whatever, flipping it to the other side of the ball where now I got to block the safeties. And so it's the same thing for me where I'm going in there kind of the same mindset of going in and just trying to dominate, trying to impose my will upon my opponent. And I know after 4 quarters, you know, I may not get you the first 2 quarters. The first half, you know, you may get me on a route or two on blocking, but I know after 4 quarters and whatever it is after that, I'm gonna come out on top.